Unless my opinion changes, and mind, I'm hoping to continue reading a bit more this summer, thus far, out of the books that I have read, one stands out above the rest. The Diary of a Country Priest by George Bernanos, butchering it in its native French, Journal d'un curé de campagne. For many reasons, this book stands out to me. Firstly, it was the first of my readings over this summer that was fiction. Secondly, it was distinctly Catholic fiction. I am also a big fan of books like A Canticle for Leibowitz and Lord of the World, and this book, in a more grounded way, fits the same genre to me. Thirdly, it told a compelling and excellent story through the writings of a young, devout priest. I don't want to give a summary of this book, but obviously I need to give some information so that I can convey what about it I appreciate so much. One thing that I think was communicated very well in this story is the sense of loneliness that is experienced by our unnamed protagonist. And even the word loneliness might not properly convey the idea I'm trying to grasp. He is alone in the sense that his mission is shared and understood by only a few people. He is a steadfast older priest friend and mentor, but he is a pastor in another village. He is misunderstood by the majority of the people in his village, and he makes enemies of others by being resolute in his steadfast service to Jesus Christ. Obviously, the perceptions that he's an alcoholic and has non-conventional relationships with others certainly doesn't help his cause. Our priest friend, in being lonely in his mission, is also a man of suffering, both physical, emotional, and spiritual. Being common-born, he shares in the pains and struggles of his sheep and experiences his own in its service. Perhaps there is something familiar in also being a young person, as this priest is a young new priest, being told to be mindful not to step on too many toes, respect how things have been done, and yet have that drive to turn things on their head and change them for idealistic purposes. Speaking to the author, I think there is something in this book that speaks to him. George Bernanos is a man who died the defeat of every other Catholic who has lived with the hope of seeing a revival of the faith in their country. Convinced that only the spiritual renewal of France could bring about its salvation after what can be assuredly called the most hellish years of French history, from 1779 to 1945, he would refuse the opportunity to take part in the political life of France after the Second World War and would die soon after. This book, written in 1937, shows without a doubt the life of faith that had so deeply permeated France in years prior, and which, during the time of the story we see, having almost completely been snuffed out save for the efforts of hard-working priests and devout lay people. And it isn't entirely without involving the failures of the church itself. Often, when faced with the severe spiritual hurt of the many characters in the story, our priests cannot help but often agree. However, the point upon which he always returns, that is, the author, and by proxy the priest, is that great truth of the Catholic faith, that the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, always pointing back to Christ and his love for us. The story that is told is one that is distinctly and authentically Catholic. I would absolutely recommend this book to anyone looking for a stirring and deeply human story. God bless you.